everybody, welcome back to another weekly market review for F45 Trading. This week we are discussing July 27th to July 31st, last week of the month, and boy has it already started out not disappointing. So we had a big breakdown in US dollar, pretty much just about did the entire range from last week. You can see last week here, the range was Friday, Thursday, Wednesday, Tuesday, Monday, from here to here in, we'll call it open there. But you can look at that and say, wow, we've almost done a huge chunk of that just on Monday alone. So very, very impressive. Big sell-off. Now, we've got to go to a weekly to kind of see what it's stretching for. And you can see we've got some lows over here, which I think is going to be the target for this week. And I think it's probably going to hit that in fairly short order. It is not wasting any time getting down there. 2 straight weeks of downward momentum after the past few weeks in consolidation. So I think they're making up for lost time here. What I'd like to see happen, though, is rather than them run out these lows before the close of Monday. So at the time of this recording, it's actually Monday morning, well into New York Open. I decided to wait to do the recording until now versus the usual Sunday evening, only because I wanted to see kind of how far the market was going to stretch down. And so I think we're kind of getting an indication of that now. More than likely, it should have, if it was going to, at this time of the recording, run out these lows, and you can see we didn't. So here's what I'd like to see the setups being this week. I got to go out to a daily to look at this. So you can see we broke down below this low here, which was the old low, and that was the one, the target that we had set out previously. What I'd like to see them do is if we could give some of this range back into Monday evening, the Asian session, going into Tuesday, and then Tuesday London Open, and then we have price start to come back down. Now, a couple of areas that I'd be looking for a price reversal if it does come back up to this level here, 94.25 all the way up to 94.60 in some cases. I would probably have both of those levels marked out on your chart. If we do see any type of retracement, those would be the 2 areas where I would like to see it go to. This old daily low coming in here at 94.29, so we'll call it 94.30. So there's about a 30 pip area there where there is a possibility I think that price could come back up too. So I'm going to be watching that to see if we get a setup like that. Now, what I don't want to see is price go back up into this green shaded area. I want to see price stay below here. We could get a little fluctuation up, possibly to the close of this candle here. But in my opinion, I think that this area, let me clean this up a little bit here, a couple extra lines in there. I think this area has been fairly well traded, and I think they've sort of made their intentions known here. If we do see a break above that, then what they could be doing here is creating a couple of equal lows in here, kind of like a double bottom, triple bottom. Everybody's going to be dogpiling, getting long on that, thinking this thing's going to go back up. They may bring it up slightly, maybe even clear this high here and then drop it, but I don't think they're done going lower, at least not yet. So anyway, I'm going to be watching for this to see if we can get a setup like that. The ideal target would be a run below this line here, 93, we'll call it 93.35 to get a nice round number. And then I think, honestly, we'll probably see them dip below these lows here. So the low on here comes in at 93.15. So I'd be probably shooting for around that 93 even mark to 93, 20 as, potentially taking your profits if we can get price to come back up and then sell off. But I definitely think that if they do want to continue to sell off, we're going to easily hit those numbers this week. So it shouldn't be an issue, and possibly the ultimate goal could be running back down to this consolidation level here at sub 90 levels. So we're going to be watching for that. But you can see it's a pretty big market structure shift. We had price run up the old high rate here, just took it out here with that big intra-month sell-off, and then run higher, retrace, ran all the stops above, and now they're sinking the market. So you know, folks, I think there's a very good chance that we could be seeing them possibly run this low out here. You know, going into September and even into, you know, into the early part of fall. So we'll see what they want to do, but they're definitely making short order of this rundown. Now, just real quickly here, because we have to always make sure we know what's on the economic news front for the week. Pretty quiet Monday so far, so we're not missing anything there other than the big rundown. Tuesday, we've got some Spanish unemployment rates, we've got CB consumer confidence, and we've got Australian dollar news. So I'm excited for this Australian dollar news. I think we're going to see some real movement in the Aussie, so we can watch for that. I'll talk about that here in a few minutes. We've got some US dollar pending home sale numbers, crude oil inventories, as always, on Wednesday. And then we've got FOMC. Now, here's the thing. FOMC. Not predicting any, pardon me, not predicting any changes. We're going to keep interest rates the same. I mean, currently, right now, they don't have anywhere to go except for zero interest rates, obviously. So I think they're going to probably save that for a little bit. I don't think they're anticipating any in the summer, but more than likely into the fall, we'll probably start to see them continue to drop rates. You know, they're printing money at a furious pace right now and unloading it on the market. So there's only one place for interest rates to go to try to kickstart the economy, which they can't do, but that's a conversation for another day. So Wednesday is going to be pretty volatile. So what I'd like to see, again, going back to the charts, FOMC, we see a big sell-off. US dollar, fail to get below this low here, which is kind of what we're seeing now. We see price on Tuesday, possibly even into Wednesday, start to run up, hit into here, and then that FOMC event triggers, and then we've got price sell-off taking out those lows. That would be my ideal scenario, but it is FOMC, so keep that in mind. Wednesday is going to be pretty volatile, and you definitely want to be watching price and not trading price during that news, because it could get a little whipsaw-y. So keep that news in mind, and then for the rest of the week, it's pretty well a fairly light, normal, you know, economic news events. We have some Euro-German prelims, some advanced GDP for the dollar. You know, and numbers aren't looking necessarily very good for those either. Just as an FYI, they're starting to come out with the numbers from you know, a couple of months ago when everything was locked down. And maybe you guys could leave some comments in the chat here if you could. If you are out of the U.S., are they locking things back down there again? I got a couple of notes from some people that I know in various states, and they were saying that they're looking at starting to lock everything down again, especially over in the California and the western side of things, because apparently numbers are exploding out there. So do me a favor, leave some comments in the below there that if that is true or not. I'd be curious to find out at a state and local level as to what's happening there. And then Friday, we've got some medium impact news events that shouldn't do a whole bunch. So jumping back into the charts, we've got EurUsd making a big run higher. Look at this breakout here. And I was kind of miffed that we didn't see a return back lower on the week, creating a bit of an upward gap there. And we saw about a 300 pip run. So I hope some of you guys got that EurUsd trade. Last week, we had a target of 11700, my target anyways, and you can see Monday smashed through that barrier with stunning fashion, running all the way up to 117.80s. Beautiful price delivery. And now we've got very similar to what the US dollar was giving us, those equal highs up here, or relative old equal highs up here. I think that's going to be the target for the week. Now, whether or not they get above there before that FOMC event on Wednesday still remains to be seen. But again, I'm still going to keep my narrative the same. I'd like to see them come back down a little bit before they hit that rebound and then shoot higher. So we'll see if we get that or not. But ultimately, I think we're probably going to be trading above. And so this area here, we can check that off. Check. And this area here, I think it wouldn't be very much of a stretch for price to run above this old equal high here. Equal high, this old high back here at 118.50. So I think if we saw a little bit of a stretch higher, we could easily get up to the 118.60s level, possibly even higher. Very, very conservative target, about 100 pips from now. Easy pickings. It is summer months, guys, so keep that in mind. In and out of the markets. Don't hold any long-term positions, because we could see, you know, stuff reverse fairly quickly. And, you know, definitely not huge money in the markets at the current time, because everyone's out enjoying their holidays, and hopefully so are you guys. or this summertime anyway. So like to see an expansion higher on euro, and call it a day at 100 pips if you can grab something like that. But again, I'd like to see a rebound back down, retest off of Friday's old highs, and then possibly a shot higher. Okay, keep that in mind as we move to cable or GbpUsd. Again, so we had that target here of 128.20s that was smashed in stunning fashion today. And to be honest with you, we had a bunch of trades, or my members had a bunch of trades on last week on cable. Bit of a mixed bag on cable last week, especially sort of that midweek trading. We didn't see any expansion really until Friday. And I was a little bit miffed that we didn't get the expansion above the 118.20 that I was hoping for, or excuse me, 128.20 that I was hoping for. Nonetheless, my main targets were the old highs in here, and 128.00 was the big figure level that you definitely want to be taking profits at. And if you get any expansion higher, that's just all gravy. The bulk of your position should be at those 128.00 mark for profit taking, and again, keep a little bit on to see if it'll stretch. And in this case, it did stretch, but not until Monday. But nonetheless, again, check mark. We got that level there that we were banking on. Now, what's next? I do have a level up here at 130.60, so we can get rid of this guy here. Don't need that anymore. I think there's a real good chance that price will, obviously, if the US dollar does continue to drop, that we could see some expansion up into this area here. I'd ultimately like to see cable get above here. I've been talking about this level up here, above 133, above 132 for quite some time. Now it seems like we're finally starting to see a move towards that level. I think probably by the end of summer, early September, we'll probably be trading above here. We'll see if that actually does come to fruition, but I think this last little pop above, as long as we stay above there and don't start trading back down into this range here, I think that's just a given. And for the weekly range, I think 130.60, I can't see why they wouldn't hit that, especially, as I say, if we see a big drop still to come in dollar. If they continue that thing down, I think we could easily stretch up 250 pips plus on GbpUsd. So watch for that, guys. Again, I don't want to see them come back down into this range in here at all. If they did, it'd just be a real quick daily touch on it, a wick into it, and then a reversal. But I think it's kind of a moot point now. I think it's pretty much off to the races. We've seen price building up very, very nicely. Very nice market structure in here on Monday. Looking for that to continue going forward into the week, so we'll see what we get there. Euro GBP, so we're seeing a lot of wicks in here. Now, just keep this in mind, guys. If EurUsd is allowed to expand higher and GbpUsd is also allowed to expand higher, we're probably going to see continuing sideways momentum excuse me, on Euro GBP. And the reason for that is because they're manipulating both of those pairs higher. So they have to put this thing sideways. So you're going to see a lot of up days and down days and up days and wicks and tails and everything else on these daily candles. So just keep that in mind. Euro GBP right now isn't going to give us a real good indicator. But eventually, if we start to see some one-way directional trading, i.e. mainly down, we're probably going to see that big, quick run up on GbpUsd. So watch that. Watch Euro GBP in here, but again, until they start breaking the structure, we're not going to see a whole lot. But I wouldn't be surprised if we don't see them try to rip above this old high up in here. So I'm going to put that on the chart there. If we do see a big expansion above that, we're going to see Euro USD really run off to the races, and I think that 118.60 level is going to be a no problem getting hit. Okay. UsCad. So this is interesting on UsCad. We had a nice sell-off on this pair here. Early part of last week, and then towards the end of the week, we just kind of lost steam. Finally broke out of this consolidation range. So we got something to talk about here. And I'm looking at this old low here as a potential downward target on CAD, UsCad. And I thought last week for sure we were going to get that. As US dollar was dropping rapidly past this old low here, I was thinking for sure we would have got a nice push lower. And we took a few trades on UsCad. They still turned out all right. We were able to capture some partials on it, but ultimately the full target did not get realized. So I'm still looking for that to get run out. But again, if we do have a bit of a retracement on dollar, USCAD isn't going to quite get down there yet. So I'm going to be watching it very diligently and see if there is the possibility that they want to run above this high, this base. We're in sort of a 3-day consolidation period right here. I'm looking to see what the likelihood of them running back up and slamming back up into this consolidation level in here at about 135. We'll call it 135. I don't know if it'll get that high or not. But just a brief retracement higher and then a dump down. It's about 130 pips, 125 pips away from current location. But I'd ultimately like to see if they have any strength whatsoever to get below this low here, and then ultimately a continuation. So as I said kind of to my members group, I said, well, it's kind of funny to see this. We're finally seeing it sell off, a very short sell-off, as U.S. dollar is dumping, and as crude oil prices are rising, we should see USCAD dropping in relation to that. So we're not really seeing it. We did see a bit of a drop, like I say, but it's kind of hesitating now. So I think there could be some downward momentum left in this. So I'm watching this level here ultimately to see if we want to go lower. But I wouldn't be surprised if we did see a bit of a pop higher before it does retrace. The other thing is it could just start rolling over from here. We have to obviously contend with that fact as well too. So again, I'm keeping my eye on USCAD because there could be some potential left in this market here. And then finally on the Forex front, we have Australian dollar, and we saw again a nice breakout here. Really wasn't a whole lot to talk about on Aussie during this price structure in here. Price was slowly building up, but really ugly trading in here. We had price right here on this candle dip just ever so slightly below those lows there, and it never came back once. And we saw a big up range. I believe that was last Tuesday of last week, capping it out on Wednesday, and Thursday, Friday sold off, retesting right off of this old high here. And so far Monday's starting out in a nice orderly direction. So I'd like to see this continue. We've got some levels here out on the weekly. You see these areas right here on Aussie. I'm looking for this to see if we can get up to there. So I have it on the chart here as 0.7206, but I mean 0.7200 is kind of what we're looking for. Right now we're at 7130. Nice range higher. I'd like to actually see if we could, again, drop down just below this market structure here, down to about 7110 to 7105, somewhere in there. I'll put it in about 7110. See if we get a drop down in here into the Asian range and then a possible rebalance. I don't want to see them go below this low here. So if we start going back below this old low, in my opinion, from Friday's low, that's no good. We could see a deeper retracement if that does happen, maybe even a rebalance back to these old highs here. I don't think it's going to want to do that. But again, FOMC on Wednesday could negate that fact, and we could be trading lower. So you got to make sure you have it on the charts. And but I do like this level in here. I'd like to see something like this happen. And I'll be watching for this Monday going into Tuesday to see if we can get something like that. And again, I'll be shooting for this old weekly highs up there on Aussie. So that's kind of what I'm looking for on the Forex front. Real quickly, crude oil, still stuck in a range on crude oil, although it is an upward range. We don't see a breakdown on crude oil yet. I'm anticipating this to continue. Keep in mind, though, going into the fall months, we should see, seasonally speaking, a drop in crude oil after the highs in October are put out, and then price typically on crude oil does start to soften a bit going into November, December, and then first quarter of the year, we usually see that regular bullish activity again. So I'm not buying crude up here. I'm not interested in it at all right at this level here, especially if we do see what's going on the economic front. If we do start shutting down in the U.S., and it looks like China's shutting down again for the second wave. They're already talking it's coming with this whole COVID fiasco. It's just going to weaken crude oil prices again going forward because that global demand isn't there. So I'm anticipating prices to fall off all the way back down, sub 30 for sure, maybe sub 20 under the low here, start to really weaken. I'm not quite with crude oil, so keep your powder dry, so to speak, on crude oil, especially in here. I mean, this is not anything you want to be trading in crude oil. This isn't up in these type of markets unless for a couple of handles here. There we go. Okay, so that's kind of what I'm looking at on crude oil. Just keep an eye on it, of course. But you can see, as I say, it is strengthening ever so slightly. We're staying above that 40 level, which is great, which should be strengthening the price of Canadian dollar futures contracts. You can definitely see a bit of a sell-off here on it on UsCad, but we're not at the level that I thought we would be at. So just keep your eye on this market here. And then finally, gold is off to the races. Beautiful up movement on gold. I'm still not convinced that we're going to just keep going up to 2,000 and beyond. I think we're probably going to see a bit of a pullback. I'd love to see a bit of a pullback anyway. Do we get below this market structure here? I don't know. I was really hoping before we saw price run all the way up there that we would have got below that and come back down into the level that I was looking for. But nonetheless, you can see my call from last week. Last Wednesday in here. That's just to my members, obviously. I want to see price drop down. We didn't quite get down to the 1860 level that I was hoping for, but nonetheless, we saw the result on, excuse me, this is on Thursday. Thursday up, Friday up, and then Monday, big up day. But I'm kind of anticipating them to sell off a little bit, so I'd like to see them come back down into this range here, and then possibly another move higher. As long as U.S. dollar starts to continue to stay weak, we should see a run higher in gold and silver, of course. So that's all I've got for you guys. I hope you have a great week of trading. Take it easy. It is summer. Go out and enjoy it. You don't need to be a slave to the markets. There's going to be plenty of action coming up in the fall. But with the exception of a couple of decent little lookers here for the week, I think if you set a couple of limit orders and forget them, you'll be pleasantly surprised. So that's all for now, guys, and I will catch up to you next week as always. Thanks for watching.